Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL, the best bets for week 14. 6 teams are on a bye, but that's okay. We still got plenty of things that we like this week. And of course, Terrell Furman Jr. and the Undertaker Andrew Erickson are here to help me break them all down for you. And the guys, once again, are holding hands on a lot of stuff. So you know what that means. It's going to be either dangerously good or dangerously bad. I believe more towards the good. The guys have been hot lately, and of course, so is the Betting Pros app. If you haven't already, make sure you download that bad boy. Make sure you use the 3 free days of premium you can get, and make sure you sync your sportsbooks for free. Did you hear me? For free, so you can get the best lines wherever you're placing your bets at all times, and use the tools to make you smarter. All right, let's kick things off. I want to get right into it, gentlemen. I want to start here with the Miami Dolphins, a team that, Terrell, they do not play well in the cold weather. Tua Tagovailoa does not, and Mike McDaniel does not like to play against teams that are any good. Teams that have under 500 records, bueno. Teams over 500, Mike McDaniel is, let's say, struggle bus. Let's just put it that way. So let's talk about this, and let's talk about the 6 points here that Miami is on here, -6 at home against the New York Jets this week. So, Terrell Furman, you are in on this. Let's talk about the why.
Yeah, I really tried not to fade the Jets again. I really wanted to, but they just make it so easy. Like they just make it incredibly easy every single week. I'm actually kicking myself that I didn't have Seattle on the card last week, because as I watched that game, I'm just watching. I'm like, oh, the Jets are in control. Oh, well, they're just letting Seattle hang around. They're not being serious on offense. They're not capitalizing on all of these drives opportunities. And here comes the mistake, and here comes the pick six, and there goes Leonard Williams running all the way down the sideline.
So good.
This team is horrible. This team is absolutely horrible. Aaron Rodgers somehow has manufactured a worse win-loss record as a New York Jet than Zach Wilson, and I think that actually should be commended. I think that Jets fans should actually thank Aaron Rodgers for tanking this organization all the way down to the point where they're going to have some pretty good draft capital next year. And yeah, this Aaron Rodgers reportedly doesn't want to come back to the Jets next season.
I just read that he redid some of his house in Jersey, though. You know, you start remodeling houses, Terrell. You want to stay there and enjoy it as long as you can, I would imagine.
Meanwhile, you get the Dolphins in December at home in a warm environment. Tua 11-0 against the Dolphins. Tua 11-0 against the Jets and the Pats. Horrible record against the Bills. This is a system play, flow chart. Are you playing the Bills in the division? No, take Tua.
There you go. I like it. Andrew Erickson, the Seattle Seahawks were actually my upset special last week because, again, I couldn't figure out why the hell they were underdogs in that game. So that was good for business. This week, again, the Dolphins seem like they're good for business. This is I think what I've learned to like about the Dolphins after being really annoyed at them is I've just come to grips with who they are, which is they're not a great team. They're a team that can beat up on the lesser, a team that can't compete when all is said and done, and a team that's not going to travel and play in tough environments. Period. End of story. Now that I've had that moment where I've been awoken to all of that, I think now I am ready to love this 6 with you guys, and I know you are too. So what are you more excited about? The Aaron Rodgers Netflix documentary coming out soon, or this -6 on the Dolphins?
Well, I just need to know about these household remodels that Aaron Rodgers is doing. Is this just the Taco Bell edition, so Devontae Adams can move in and they can?
Chances are no.
Or is he remodeling and making it look nice for the next buyer because he messed the house up a little bit because he punched holes in the walls with how bad the season is going?
Well, he clearly didn't take any responsibility.
There are no windows. There are no windows in this house because he has to let all the darkness. It can only be dark. There are no windows allowed.
There's no set in for the Jets. Yes, I'll tell you that much.
So I think that with this game, last week it's just a classic spot to fade the Dolphins, and then this is a classic spot to buy back in. Like, you hit the nail on the head, Joey, where this is where the Dolphins dominate. They kill bad teams when they play at home in the warm weather, where they don't have to bring like 400 pounds of cold weather gear on their plane to play in a road game. Like, they don't need to do any of that stuff. They get to be at home in Miami, and the stats back this up. If you look at the Dolphins, they've covered the spread 13 of the last 16 games against teams with a losing record. So I was watching one of the Tua press conferences this week, and he's really disappointed about what their record is this season. And he's really taking it on himself for missing so many games that really put the Dolphins behind the 8 ball, right? If he doesn't miss over a month of the season, we may be talking about the Dolphins like, hey, this team could make some noise potentially. Well, maybe make the playoffs and then immediately get eliminated, like we often see with them. But hey, at least be in the playoff race. So I still think they're motivated to win games. I think Tua still wants to play well for his teammates, and I think they blow out the Jets. So give me the Dolphins -6.
There you go. So all three of us in on the Dolphins this week. So what could go wrong? The next one's a little surprising for me. Now, not surprised Andrew Erickson's with me on this because we talked about it on the live stream yesterday right here on BettingPros. So now you can catch us on Wednesdays doing the live stream, 3 p.m. Eastern. Andrew and myself just kind of talking about some of the select games, breaking some things down, taking your questions too, which was super fun yesterday. I want to shout out to everybody who was watching live with us yesterday. Again, 3 Eastern every Wednesday. Set your calendars or just ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications when you subscribe to the BettingPros YouTube channel. That's a lot easier. But I have come to this moment also where, Andrew and I were talking about it, and I had thrown it out earlier on Monday, and then I sat in it a little bit longer, and the Falcons are not a great football team. Kirk Cousins is absolutely, though, going to, I think, take this moment seriously. Perhaps maybe that was a little bit of the distraction last week. He played terribly off the bye, too, throwing all those picks. It was not a good look for him, but every time we write off Kirk Cousins is when Kirk Cousins shows up again. Andrew used the Eagles game earlier this year as a perfect example of that. I don't think the Falcons are a good team. I know, Terrell, you don't. I'm surprised that you're on the Falcons points here. So the fact that you are also in this with Erickson and myself, you are the toughest one to convince. So talk to me about how you came to this point, because you have been the biggest critic of this team from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still think this Falcons team is horrible, by the way. I think that they're not good. But nonetheless, I think the Vikings are also very, very criminally overrated right now. And if I'm going to pick two overrated teams, I'm going to fade the team that has a better winning record because they are more overrated than the other overrated team. But nonetheless, we're sitting here with the Atlanta Falcons and are going up against the Minnesota Vikings, who I have been right about the past 3 weeks here talking about fading the Vikings. And I mean, unfortunately, it didn't go our way on the money line in either one of those games for the Bears or the Cardinals, and that's really, really annoying. But nonetheless, this Vikings team has just been playing really, really close games, and they were fortunate to get the cover laying 6 against Tennessee, but they still didn't cover against the Jags the week before. They're playing a lot of close games and just going out by the skin of their teeth and getting a win. Granted, for the NFL and for the playoffs, that's enough. They're going to be a playoff team. I was wrong about that. I thought they were about to fall off a cliff. But I still don't think that's enough for them to cover this margin, 5.5 here. I could see this being a close game. I mean, even through all 4 of those interceptions, they still found some way to make that a 4-point game against the Chargers. And I think that actually does mean something. I don't think this Vikings team is equipped now with Sam Darnold at quarterback, with the inconsistencies on offense, and with the fact that, yes, they can turn the ball over, but they allow you to go 20-20 and at least get some points at the end of drives. I think that that's really, really concerning for Minnesota. I love the bounce back angle and the revenge angle for Kirk Cousins in this game as well. Kirk Cousins, when he's dialed in and locked in, very, very nerve-wracking. Not as confident in a money line play this week. I will admit it. Not as confident in the money line play, but I feel really, really good about 5.5. Like, I don't think that this is going to be more than a touchdown game. I think this is a close one.
I agree. I think it is going to be closer. I'm honestly the 45.5 is what you're finding most spots. I kind of feel like that's about spot on too. But I do like that 5.5 with the Falcons. And revenge narratives sometimes can be very overrated. I don't think the first time, it is overrated. I don't think it's very overrated when it comes to quarterbacks. Andrew, that's what you and I were talking about yesterday, whereas you have the ball in your hand, you're able to control the game, right? Jerry Jeudy had his revenge narrative, which, again, we talked about that at length.
Shout out to Jameis.
Shout out to Jameis.
Wait,
we gave Jameis a ton of love
because
yesterday.
I had Broncos laying 5.5, and what a sweat. What a sweat. And for Jameis to take that as Jameis as he could, to get that pass interference and get that ball all the way into the red zone, inside the 5, and throw a beautiful interception. Beautiful. I mean, Jameis throws a very, very catchable football. Very, very catchable football.
Sometimes to the other team. That's the problem.
Yeah, doesn't matter
for
who
everybody.
gets it. For everybody.
Yeah.
I love equal opportunity quarterbacks like Jameis.
Look, and the Jerry Jeudy one is like, it's hard for a wide receiver. You've got to pepper him with targets, to have his revenge game or whatever it is. This one with Cousins, though, I mean, this is a familiarity with the organization for a very long time, a familiarity with the defense that he practiced against. So they know his weaknesses, but he knows theirs too. So I do think Cousins can keep this one close at the very least, if not maybe come up with a weird upset. It feels like the Vikings, as Terrell was saying, also an over 18, may be ripe for that last 2 weeks too. Having a lot of trouble converting, too many field goals. That's what we're getting there with the Vikings side. So Andrew, I know Terrell gave us a lot of reasons, but for those people who may have missed yesterday, what were some of your other reasons where we were talking about why Cousins and the Falcons could cover this 5.5?
Well, for starters, I had to put the Falcons in the show sheet because once I saw Terrell put it in, I was like, well, this is a lock. Because Terrell hates the Falcons, and if he's going to bet on the Falcons, I'm like, okay, we're heading in the right direction here. We're holding hands. So I felt much better about that. And I think it goes back to the point, it's really less about the Kirk Cousins factor, and it's the fact, yes, no one's talking about, how the Chiefs are the luckiest team in the NFL. You know who's right there next to them? The Minnesota Vikings. 7-1 in close games this season. So yeah, of course they're going to keep this game close to the Falcons because that's all the Vikings do is playing close games. And you look at their defense, right? Oh, this very feared defense. They love to blitz a lot. Hey, you know what defense also loves to blitz a lot? Todd Bowles. You know what team the Kirk Cousins had the most success against this year? Tampa Bay. And their blitz-heavy defense. Because I remember writing up the first time those teams played and be like, man, I don't know, Kirk Cousins, can't really move, sitting duck back there, and all he did was rip apart the blitz.
Well, you don't have to move if you can get rid of the football quickly and make good reads of what the defense is going to do. And that's what a veteran quarterback presence brings.
Exactly. So I think that this game is going to be close. Yes, I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be able to pull out the straight up upset, but just covering the 5.5, I think that's easy money this week with the Atlanta Falcons. And the other thing to point out too about the Vikings defense, they're starting to get banged up. Ivan Pace, one of their linebackers, he missed last week. And the Arizona Cardinals ran all over the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings gave the most rushing yards they had given up at any point in the season against Arizona because they were missing one of their star linebackers. You know who got hurt last week? Stephon Gilmore, one of their starting cornerbacks. And the minute that he left that game, you know who scores a touchdown? Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, the Cardinals can't score a touchdown the entire game. He gets hurt. They immediately score a touchdown. So it's not even less about Kirk Cousins, but like, how are they going to stop Bijan Robinson, right? This dude's a monster. No one's talking about that. It's like, it's all about Kirk. It's all about Kirk. It's like, but it's not though. Like, you know who showed up after the bye week? Not the Falcons offense. The Falcons defense showed up for the first time. They were able to get sacks. Terrell. The Falcons got sacks on the quarterback for the first time. They held the Chargers under 200. That's actually
really, really surprising.
Exactly. So there's just, the narrative is so much about Kirk Cousins and not all the other factors of the game that I think work in the Falcons' favor. So I'm glad we're all hand-holding here, and I'm really excited to watch this game.
This is terrifying. We have never started off a show all year where the three of us have agreed on two things in a row to start a show. But then again, we also, I think, have a... Well, I don't think any of this is going to go wrong, and I'll tell you why. I think we have the clearest identity of where teams are at than we've ever had. And that makes this a little bit easier at this stage. Where fantasy gets harder, betting starts to get a little bit easier. Also, to help you ease your pain and make some good picks, our Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. It's free to join. You can get picks there. You can get interactions there with Matt Peralt, who's out there all the time on there. So if you want some help from expert handicappers like Matt, or you want to connect with fellow bettors and elevate your strategy, again, the place to do it is over at bettingpros.com/chat. Join our Discord. And don't forget to make your picks count. bettingpros.com/NFL contest. That's the place you can go. When you have the app, just go into the community tab and look for the NFL contest. And you don't even have to make bets. You just have to make picks. And we got a new month in December that just began. So we're doing monthly prizes and weekly prizes. You just have to make the quick pick. Boom, you're done. That's all you have to do. And if you make the best for the week or the month, you're going to get a prize. So make sure you join our NFL contest going on right now, still through the month of December, through January too. All the time. We got it going on. Terrell, let's get to the Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The number for this one is 43. The Chiefs obviously continue to be a team that, sneaks out victories here and there. Everybody's been on them. I'm sure they've heard all this, but they just keep winning football games regardless. And the Chargers, Ladd McConkey banged up. That's a big one. J.K. Dobbins on the IR. That's a big one. This was poised to be a really interesting game where I feel like the Chargers were ready to really take it to the Chiefs and really hand them another loss. Now I'm not so sure. And I don't know if you are or not, but you seem to have pivoted to the number instead, 43, and you're taking the under. So let's talk about that one, talk about the why, and is it because so many of these pieces that are missing here potentially for the Chargers?
Well, yeah. I've kind of strayed. I still like the Chargers +4, by the way. I just think that this is a good spot, and I like the coach and Jim Harbaugh. I think he's going to be able to coach this team up, and the defense has been fantastic all year round. Like, they've had a couple of stumbles there with the Ravens and with the Bengals, but they've been really, really good. So I like the under 43.5 here. I think both defenses have been playing lights out. They've been very, very conservative in allowing points. The Chargers have held teams under their team total basically all season. And this Kansas City Chiefs defense is where that's how they want to play football. I know we say it every single week, but it hasn't changed because they haven't changed philosophy throughout the whole season. We want to play good defense. We want to get after the quarterback. We want that to be the highlight of this team. And then Patrick Mahomes is that quarterback where we don't need him to go out here and throw for 400, 500 yards. We just need him to make the plays when we need him to make them for us to be able to win the game. And I think this Chargers team, who thinks that they are comparable to the Kansas City Chiefs, they're trying to close that gap. Justin Herbert has been closest to anybody else besides maybe a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow to actually beating the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that with all of that, this is going to be a very, very competitive game, a low-scoring game, similar to what we saw against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Raiders in this division on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. So I'm going to take the under here. I think this is a hard smash-mouth football game in the cold, and I love under 43.5. This could be very, very low-scoring.
Does Harbaugh have the running backs left to make it that smash mouth game, though? That's my only question. Gus Edwards has been kind of 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Haskins had the fumble issue. I'm not sure where we're going to pivot next. So
the fantasy community is telling you Kamani Vidal. The fantasy community has been talking up Kamani Vidal like he's going to be the guy. I think it's still Gus Edwards.
I do
this
too.
Is still a Greg Roman offense, and Greg Roman loves his guys. And he went back to J.K. Dobbins off of injury early in the season. He got hurt. What happens every time J.K. Dobbins gets hurt? He goes to Gus Edwards, and Gus Edwards is able to come out here and manufacture games. So I think this actually is a sneaky, really good Gus Edwards game where he keeps them in this game and they just control time of possession.
All right. The next one here for you, Erickson, your third pick is a game that is pure chaos. I told you this has 4 outcomes written all over it. Therefore, I will be waiting and watching part of the first quarter to see what the vibes are and then maybe bet it live after I see. But again, I could see 4 outcomes in this one. But you see one that you like when it comes to the Giants and the Saints. So sell me on it because I'm still hands off until kickoff.
Well, the vibes will not be Drew Lock dancing on the sideline. That's to be confirmed because I don't even know if he's going to finish the game at this point because he was horrible against Dallas. He's a horrible quarterback. Derek Carr, he's okay. Not horrible, but not great. And look, we have a matchup between Derek Carr and Drew Lock, and this point total doesn't start with a 3. There's something wrong with that, in my opinion. Playing outside in December, a dome team on the road. I just want the under in this game. So under 40.5 points, Giants and Saints. Look, MetLife Stadium, we actually mentioned this on the Fantasy Pro show. So whereas Ford Field, Coors Field of the NFL, love that. MetLife Stadium, the total opposite. I brought up as I don't know what ballpark it has the least amount of home runs. The first one that came to mind was Polo Grounds. There are no home runs at this certain place. There are no home runs in MetLife Stadium. Even that Jets Seahawks game.
Not too much.
It took everything with special teams and turnovers and pick sixes by 300-pound linemen to get the game over the total.
We get it.
So yeah, there's no points to be found in MetLife Stadium, and we'll go to the stats. So sorry, Terrell, maybe you just unplug a little bit here as I continue to pour on. So 9 of the Giants' last 13 games have gone under the total. 11 of the Giants' last 14 home games have gone under the total. Yeah. 6 of the Giants' last 7 home games have gone under the total. 11 of the last 14. Et cetera, et cetera. This game's not going over the total, especially when you look at the two defenses. Again, what can they rest their laurels on? Top 12 in red zone defense. So even if they're moving the ball with yardage, you're not going to see any points here unless it gets wacky.
The bags are out. There you go. Come on. What do you have to worry about? You've won Super Bowls in your lifetime. Come on. This is not so bad. It's not so bad. You won multiple Super Bowls. Imagine the Jet fan who has grown up, who was in their 40s, who has never seen one. Who's ever even seen them get to one. Right. Come on, Terrell. It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
It's pretty bad. We have an expectation of greatness, and we are not performing to it. We haven't ever since the freaking boat trip. Ever since the boat trip.
That's true.
The boat trip.
The boat trip has gone. It's true.
The boat trip.
All those Timberlands on that boat hanging out there. All right. The next one, finally, we're going to have a difference of opinion on. I am all over the Seahawks in what is basically a playoff game this week. This is it. The Seahawks have a chance to take this division by the cojones and roll with it. And the Seahawks just keep winning games. And sometimes certain teams just have that vibe where maybe they shouldn't win the game. And certainly last week, maybe there were times against the Jets where they shouldn't. Maybe even against the Cardinals 2 weeks ago, they shouldn't, especially when they were at home. They should have handled their business and they let the Cardinals hang around. I feel like Seattle's just got that thing about them right now. I think Geno's confident. This coaching staff is confident. They're feeling good vibes. I think Arizona's feeling some pressure. And you could see it. They lost to Seattle coming out of the bye. Then they went out and laid a turd against the Minnesota Vikings. I think you could feel the pressure of a team that wasn't ready to be at the top yet of a division starting to collapse upon itself. And that's the Arizona Cardinals. I don't care about how good the defense plays. I don't care about it. Seattle's finding ways to win, and I think Seattle's going to do it again. Terrell, you disagree. Tell me why.
Yeah, because, I mean, you were right last time with the Seahawks.
It's so good to hear. I love
you were right. They won 16-6. They did. They did. You were right. They
won last week, too, against the Jets in the upset special.
And they got outgained. The Cardinals outgained them on the road. Like, I'm telling you, I do not believe in this Seattle Seahawks team. Even watching that game last week, that's why I didn't. And I was sitting there watching the game. I'm like, man, why did I not get down on the Seahawks? Oh, wait, because the Seahawks are fraudulent. Because they're a fraudulent football team.
That might be true. But you know who else is fraudulent? I think Kyler Murray's a little fraudulent. Because every time he's got to make big plays and big moments, he fails. And so far, I haven't seen to the otherwise. Like, no one's been able to sell that to me. Outside of beating the 49ers every now and again, Kyler Murray has not really stepped up in any big moments so far as an NFL quarterback.
Monday Night Football, he got a very good win and was able to pull them through for the Chargers at home. And I think that this is similar to those vibes of this is going to be a very, very contested football game. Believe it or not, both of these two defenses have been actually a lot better. Yeah. I expect to see a lot of heavy James Conner and Kyler Murray making plays with his legs. Like, I think that's going to be the key here, him being able to get outside the pocket, make plays with his legs, not necessarily get the rushing yards, but just extend plays because Trey McBride is a stud. He's absolutely balling. I think that this can be a Marvin Harrison maybe longest completion game, maybe not yards game, but longest completion where he gets the big plays and they're able to move the ball. They outgained them last time. They just weren't able to put the ball in the end zone, and it was so frustrating, and you pulled your hair out as a Cardinals money line backer. It doesn't matter. I'm going back to the well. I think that we were on the right side, and we just didn't get the result. They split the series this time around, and we watch a competitive division come down to, again, the Cardinals and the Seahawks towards the end of the year. I am taking the Cardinals. I think that this is the year. This is the year they finally get the monkey off their back and they win the division, and it starts with this game right here.
All right, Erickson, you're where Terrell is. Let's talk about the why, because I'm still on the Seattle side of this game. The mojo is just stronger. The defense has been opportunistic, creating turnovers for the last couple weeks too, and those turnovers, to me, have been the difference maker in these games. When they create these turnovers, you can feel the entire game just shift in their favor. All the energy goes in their favor. And teams that can do that consistently start to believe they can. And that's very dangerous for a team like Arizona. But why do you think Arizona is going to come out here on the minus side here with the, was it 2.5 right now, pretty much you're getting everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, this game is really fascinating to me. This is something I really want to tune into because the first matchup, I was expecting points and I couldn't have been more wrong. But you saw the teams move the ball. I mean, Kyler Murray almost threw for 300 passing yards in that game, but they just stalled out constantly in the red zone. So is that, it's just going to happen again, or is that not sustainable, right? Well, if they're going to continue to move the ball, eventually they're going to be able to punch in. Eventually, Trey McBride will catch a receiving touchdown.
I keep telling myself that. But...
I know. I keep telling myself that too. Eventually, it's going to happen. I mean, the guy can only catch 12 balls every single week and not score for so long before he finally finds the end zone. And I guess for me, it's, you're looking at the two teams, both of the defenses, like Terrell laid out, like are definitely the strengths right now entering this game. We saw it in the first matchup where neither offense scored 20 points. Neither offense got over 300 total yards of offense. The Seahawks were able to stop the Cardinals' ground game. But the Seahawks also can't run the football. And I think it goes back to, I like the home field advantage for Arizona. I think that gives them a little bit of an edge in terms of creating opportunities for turnovers. Last week, you saw the Cardinals pass rush come alive against a overrated Vikings offensive line. Mm-hmm. The worst unit on the field, I think, playing in this game is the Seahawks offensive line. I have no faith them playing on the road to stop a pass rush that came alive last week. So where you're on the side of, I think the turnovers are going to benefit the Seahawks, I think the turnovers are going to benefit the Cardinals in this game and ultimately be the reason why the Cardinals come out with the win. So I think that this game is tight, and I think it's going to go down to the fourth quarter. So I think we need to get a little side action on between us three. I think it'll be a fun one to watch. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I like the body of work this year says, hey, Cardinals have covered the spread at a higher rate than the Seattle Seahawks. So they're favorites at home. Give me the Birds.
Okay, last one here for both guys. Let's start here with the Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. This one's going to be on Monday night. So Terrell, look, normally I see the better coach and the better quarterback, and I immediately just say, yeah, I'm in. Let's go with the 5.5 on the Bengals. But that Bengals defense has been so bad. I just have no faith in their ability to hold the lead at all. So tell me why you're confident the Bengals are the 5.5 this week, because this is another one too where maybe I'm a little bit more interested in the 49.5 than I am in the 5.5.
You have the Dallas Cowboys, who are abysmal. They've been horrible at home. They haven't been able to beat anybody at home except the New York Giants. That's it. They haven't been able to beat anybody at home. And the Giants just ruined that last week. So guess what? They're due for another home loss like they've been doing all season. And then you have a Bengals team that, despite everything bad that they do all year, they are 6-6 against the spread. That is horrible. 50%. You're not making money there unless you bet them on the road, because they're 5-1 ATS on the road. They can't win in Cincinnati, but they can handle business on the road. They are coming off of a divisional game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've had a bad run of 3 games. I get it, but look at the 3 games they played. Pittsburgh, playoff team. Chargers, playoff team. Ravens, playoff team. Cowboys, not a playoff team. I mean, I know.
Don't tell Jerry Jones that. 5-10.
Jerry Jones will believe they have a chance. I'll tell you right now, they don't have a chance in hell. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for Cincinnati to, one, invigorate just the fan base. Invigorate the fan base. Second, Zach Taylor's coaching for his job, because if you somehow go out here and don't have an amazing showing against this Cowboys team that's in a down year, that the last time you played them was 2 years ago when you had all the expectations in the world and you went and lost to Cooper Rush on the road in Jerry's world, you lost to Cooper Rush and you get to pay Cooper Rush back for that when they're in a down year. Yeah, I think that they possibly could give up points, but I could see Cincinnati scoring 44 points in this game. That's how good their offense is, and that's how bad the defense is for Dallas. So I think Cincinnati is going to be able to cover this line regardless. I laid 5.5 last week with the Broncos, and while it was a sweat and it was entertaining, and I promise you Cooper Rush is never going to give me as entertaining of a game as Jameis Winston gave me, and I still get a cover, I'm still going to get the cover here. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to destroy the Cowboys. I think somehow in their mind, when you look at them, especially watching Hard Knocks, they believe they somehow still have a chance at the playoffs. And so, sure, I'm going to bet on them having that false sense of security that they can go be 1-0 every week and find themselves in the playoffs. Give me Cincinnati laying 5.5.
I think Cincinnati can almost take care of this 49.5 by themselves, which is why I just like the over. Like, I don't want to, there's so many variables in this game. 49.5, like you said, they could probably put up a 40 spot. That's fine. And I'm sure Dallas will at least put up 17. Like, that's my confidence there. That's why of all the overs this week, that was the one that is most appealing to me, because where those two teams are at. And let's be honest too, and I know this time of year, the defenses decide that, they're not going to really lay themselves out too much. They got nothing to play for. Those guys don't want to get hurt. Tackling seems to go away in games like this. Last one here I want to talk about, Erickson. We've discussed Baker Mayfield before, right? Where he is the underdog. We love him. Sometimes when he's the home favorite, it's not so good. He's got the Raiders this week. So that being said, how do you feel about this matchup for him and the Raiders with Tampa? Who look, Tampa is right in the thick of this division too. They have a chance here, important victory for them, but you think the Raiders can cover. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, like the Raiders plus 6.5. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, he played fantastic last week. Again, for that one mistake that he made at the end of the game, I mean, he was nearly flawless going into Kansas City and almost coming up with the second win in his second start in Kansas City. Yeah. So I think that obviously what ended up happening at the end of the game, I think that weighs on him as a player. And I think that he really wants to show what he can do. And I mean, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is horrible, especially in their secondary. And you laid out the case where Baker Mayfield, yes, when he's up against the wall, an underdog, he's playing like his arm is in a sling, on the road, like that's where you want to be on Baker Mayfield, not when they're comfy 6.5 point favorites against a 2-10 Raiders team with Baker Mayfield like dealing with an injury. The Buccaneers as home favorites, 5-9-1 against the spread, 36%. That's what we're working with here. The Raiders play hard for Antonio Pierce. They do, because this is a team that's covered spreads on the road that they had no business covering whatsoever against teams that are significantly more talented than them and significantly better than them. So rinse and repeat. Last week, we liked the Raiders on the road on Black Friday, and they covered. Again, it was 13.5 points. This is only 6.5, but the matchup is better, I think, because the Buccaneers defense is way worse than the Chiefs. It's the same exact recipe for success for Aiden O'Connell. Get the ball to Brock Bowers. The Buccaneers are one of the worst teams against tight ends, and get the ball to Jacoby Myers. Like, he has weapons to get and do damage against this defense. So I like the Raiders catching plus 6.5. Again, on the road, I don't really care. The Raiders have covered plenty of road games. So I'm going to fade Baker Mayfield as a home favorite.
All right. I think you and I see eye to eye on that one too. Let's get to the upset special of the week. I'm trying to go back to back here. So give me the Chicago Bears, the dead coach bounce, baby. Let's go. The 49ers are done. They folded up the tents. I don't remember a team in recent memory that seems to have hatred and vitriol for their coach the way the Chicago Bears did, and rightfully so. Things have not gone well there. Caleb Williams, though, has played really well the last couple weeks in the second half of games. He's made some good adjustments. This is a team that is not bereft of talent. It's bereft of leadership. It's bereft of game planning. It's bereft of coaches making good clock management decisions in good moments. So give me the Chicago Bears here to put the nail in the coffin of the 49ers season here. The 49ers are not healthy. CMC done. Mason done. Purdy is far from 100%. I'm telling you right now, this is one where I think that the Chicago Bears do get that glorious dead coach bounce, and I want to be in on it, and I want you to be in on it too. Plus 176 on the money line. Let's go. And let's take those Chicago Bears on the money line plus 176. And I've only got one other thing I want to put with it. It's my Seattle Seahawks. That's right, my Seattle Seahawks at plus 120. You put them both together, you get 5-1. Let's go, baby. We're going forward with this one. The Chicago Bears have talent on offense and defense, and I think there's a motivation to prove to everybody that they are a better football team than they are. And I already talked about Seattle Seahawks. These guys just have that little bit of magic, and sometimes that's just better than any stat you could throw out there, and I do not buy in to Kyler Murray in big spots because I keep seeing him make bad decisions and bad moments, and that, once again, is how the Seattle Seahawks are going to find another interception at another moment in this game to swing the momentum in their favor, and Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks are going to win this division. So really, this is just a flag plant of the NFC West, where it's Seattle Seahawks time. The death of the 49ers, the rebirth of the Seattle Seahawks. What a time to be alive. Gentlemen, I can't wait to come back next week and talk about how everything went with you. And of course, don't forget, join our Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. Download the app wherever you get your apps. Start betting smarter, not harder. Use the Betting Pros app. Sync your sports books for free and join our NFL contest on there as well. You can also follow us, Terrell, Erickson, myself, over on BP to see what we're in on week 14 when you download the app. So do that too. It's just good business. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Terrell Furman and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy week 14.